Hello boxing fans and welcome to another edition of EBN predictions. Right now I'm talking Arthur Abraham versus Piotr Wilczewski, and this is one fight that the boxing public seems to think it will be an easy fight for Arthur Abraham. However, I sincerely doubt it. In fact, I'm going to go against the grain and tell you I actually think that Wilczewski will beat Abraham via points in this fight, and now I'm going to get into why. Firstly, when looking at Piotr Wilczewski, you will notice that he is actually a very good boxer. He is also so good that he's probably nearing world level right now, and allow me to tell you, I would have rather this guy in the ring as a replacement for people like Kessler than people like Len Johnson and Alan Green in the Super 6. I'd also go as far as saying, if he was to fight Alan Green tomorrow, I think he would knock him out. And he'd probably beat Johnson by unanimous decision in Europe, or probably by a split decision, which could probably go either way in the United States of America. Second thing is, people forget that this guy can actually bang too. It's not just Abraham who's got a punch in there. He won the EBU title from a guy called Askamainen. That guy was dropped twice, once in the 9th and once in the 11th. He's also knocked down several other of his opposition in different fights and stopped many of them. This guy can punch too. He also likes to set his boxing at a long distance fight. People have problems breaking that down, which brings me on to his defensive qualities. And it's a fact that this guy has a very tight defense. He tucks that chin in very well, and he's got a high shoulder, which makes it hard for people like Abraham to tag him on the chin. He also made it very, very hard for people like James the Gale to outbox him. He was very good in the fight against the Gale. He showed discipline, and he showed that he can stick to a game plan. The only difference was the Gale was an Olympic gold medalist and was fighting at home. On that night, he won the fight. He could have lost it any other night, in different places, if Wilczewski was just that little bit better and the Gale was that little bit worse. But don't forget, the Gale's an Olympic gold medalist and Wilczewski is not. Wilczewski is also a lot taller than Abraham. He's 2 inches taller and has a similar to longer reach than Abraham. And Abraham has a very long reach if you look at him. He's also quicker and he's a much better mover than Abraham. In terms of boxing ability, I would also give Wilczewski the nod. The only thing Abraham has over Wilczewski is the one-punch power. And will that be enough to beat Wilczewski? Moving on to Abraham now. And what does Abraham do? Well, we've noticed he cannot fight effectively on the outside, and therefore he has to take the fight to Wilczewski on the inside and risk being outboxed. However, he uses a certain style in Germany which is very effective. He likes to fight most of his battles middle to close range and allow the jab to pepper his guard, which is not regarded as highly scoring punch in Germany, unlike everywhere else in the world. And when he's defending, he waits for his opponents to lower their guard, and when they've expended enough energy trying to get through his armoured guard, he then unleashes all hell with his own fast-paced and powerful attacks, mostly at the end of the round after he's been trying to keep the round fairly even, so that it makes it very hard for people to argue against him nicking the round. Also, the fight is in Germany, so that could be significant if it goes to scorecards. As you know, there have been a few controversial decisions over the past year or two in Germany. You could name them easily off the top of your head. However, once again, Abraham has fought guys at 168 at world level and has been significantly beaten. Obviously, Wilczewski, in my opinion, is bordering onto that world level. So can he beat Wilczewski? There's a big difference between people at world level at 160 pounds and 168 pounds. And one of those differences is that Abe dwarfed the people at 160, while he is dwarfed at 168. Examples of this include Carl Froch. Abraham was the favourite to win this by stoppage, but it didn't happen that way. Instead, Froch won every round, sticking to a game plan, and outboxed his man over the 12-round distance. And let's be honest, if you gave Abraham that many rounds in that fight, if you gave him more than one round in that fight, then you're biased against Froch. You're a hater. Abraham was probably in trouble a few times in that fight too, and the only person who's lucky to not get stopped would have been Abraham. Also, look at Andre Dirrell. He won a majority of the round against Abraham, even knocking an off-balanced Abraham down. people say he was coming back into that fight, but the proof is in the pudding, people. And Abraham lost that fight, and he wasn't lucky. You know, he wasn't unlucky, and he was very lucky to get away with a significant ban for what he did in that fight. Also, then look at Jermaine Taylor. Even though Abraham won this fight by KO, he lost the first 4 rounds by his inactivity, which I think is going to be a very big thing if he goes into this fight the same way. He spent the rest of the fight chasing the rounds, and eventually did stop Taylor through Taylor's own stupidity of standing in front of a guy who's a one-punch knockout artist. And lastly, Andre Ward. You know, Abraham did up his work rate in this game. He tried to do a few different things, but against Andre Ward it just didn't work. He did a good job though, but he was soundly beaten by the better boxer. So the main question I pose to everyone who's listening to this is, will Wilczewski be disciplined enough to stick to the blueprint on how to beat Abraham, or will he try to add his own dimension to the blueprint? Therefore, I'm going to give you a double-barreled prediction, right? If everything's above board and there's no fix and it's totally 100% fair, both guys an equal chance to win this fight. Assuming that, I expect Wilczewski to win on points. But if it's not, I expect Abraham to win, probably either a late stoppage or a robbery decision. Okay, just adding this bit in at the end. Look at the description, and in the description should be the Twitter page and the new Facebook page. If you'd like to get involved with them, that would be brilliant. If you could like the Facebook page, that would be brilliant. That's where we're going to give away all of the links now to the free fights. And also that's where we're going to be doing the boxing talk, a lot of the boxing talk nowadays. So thanks for listening, and adios!